Well, hey there, beautiful movers and curious minds. Welcome back to this podcast. Today's episode is one I've been really looking forward to because we're going to talk about something most people don't associate with when it comes to Pilates. And this is laughter. Yep, joy, humor, fun. That thing we sometimes forget when we're too busy doing serious technical or professional stuff. But what if fun wasn't just a bonus, but actually a necessity? What if it made our body work better, our abs stronger, and our nervous system happier? My guest today is the wonderful Kristen, a Pilates teacher who has created a whole concept around bringing laughter into the method again. And not just giggles on the side, she's literally using laughter as core work, laughter as medicine, and laughter as true transformation. We talk about how joy changes the body, what science says about it, and how we can all start taking ourselves a little less serious without losing any of the depth or the integrity of the Pilates work. So whether you're teaching, whether you're training, or you're healing, or you're just here to reconnect with your body, this episode is your invitation to lighten up, to feel more, and maybe even laugh yourself into an actual six-pack. So let's get into it. I came into Pilates and into Pilates world as a deeply obedient student. I was dedicated, diligent, faithful to the form. I studied with reverence, absorbing every word my mentors spoke as sacred truth. I followed the lineage, the lineups, the line-by-line execution of the work, and I believed that mastery was obedience, that discipline was the doorway to wisdom. And then came contradiction. Teacher after teacher, training after training, different truth, different correct forms, different sacred laws. At first, it confused me. And then it cracked something open because it made me realize there isn't just one right way. There are many ways, there are many bodies, and there is so much more than just the one story. And perhaps the most important story, the one that Joseph and Clara held in their hearts when they created this method, was actually a very simple one. Everyone should be doing these exercises because they would be happier and the world would be a better place. This is what Joseph Pilates wanted to pass on through generations and generations of students. So where did the happiness go? I'm asking you. How did a method born to uplift the human spirit become so serious, so stiff, so perfectionist? How did contrology become about controlling every single outcome, every breath, every limb, until the joy was fully squeezed out of the work? Yes, Pilates is genius, and yes, Pilates is intelligent. Yes, Pilates is precise, but it's also human. And humans, well, we're wired for joy. We learn better when we love. We breathe better when we lighten up. We move better when we feel safe. And fun creates that safety. It's not control. Now, in this entire podcast, we're exploring the beauty of laughter and how laughter is actually helping Pilates. And you don't have to take my word for it. But let's just first talk nervous system for a moment. When we laugh, smile, or feel lighthearted, our parasympathetic nervous system activates that rest and restore mode. This actually leads to a lower cortisol, which is our stress hormone level. It improves our digestion and more oxygen-rich blood flow. Laughter actually opens our capillaries in the heart and the lungs, which expands oxygen exchange. And this creates more presence. It actually creates more vitality, that zest that Joseph talks about in his book. We are more alive in the moments. So ironically, the strictness And the overcorrecting we often bring to Pilates is actually potentially working against the very conditions we need to flourish in it. It took me 20 years of teaching before I gave myself permission to loosen up. And no, I don't mean to abandon structure or watering down the depth of the work. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is meeting my clients where they are. It took me 20 years meeting myself where I am. It took me 20 years to let my joy into the room, teaching with confidence, not with perfection, bringing in humor, not as entertainment, but actually as medicine, as being an integral part of the session. Because joy is not a performance, it's a presence, it's a choice. And when we let that presence shine through our teaching, something absolutely beautiful happens. And in that place of joy, we become more intuitive. We let go of needing to be the expert. And we start being a partner in discovery. We make space for vulnerability, not only in our clients, but actually in ourselves. And we become better at reading the signs, the breath, the tension, the subtle cues that intellect might actually miss. And when the body feels safe, it opens. And when it opens, the work actually works. So what we're going to do in this podcast is we're going to challenge you. When was the last time you laughed during a Pilates session? Or when was the last time you had fun with the method? When was the last time your clients left not just aligned, but smiling literally from the inside out? If it's part of your teaching, bravo. Keep going. You're restoring something ancient and so needed. You're helping people return to themselves with ease, joy, and lightfulness. If it's not the case, maybe, but just maybe, you can let a little more light in, a little less rigidity, a little more humanity, and maybe just a little bit more of you. Because as Guru Singh beautifully reminds us, when we let go of needing to be right, we find our rhythm. And in that rhythm, we find our joy. So let's get serious about joy. Let's make space for fun. So let's return to the original intent of Pilates, a better and brighter world, one joyful body at a time. So let me now invite Kristen Lots. I'll leave you maybe just explaining people where you're from, how you got to Pilates, and how did you develop that very unique way of just putting a smile on people's face when you teach Pilates, because that's really what is quite remarkable.
Thanks. Well, I'll start at the end, or not really the end, because it's been quite a few years since I did the Passing the Torch mentorship program with Wendy LeBlanc Arbuckle. And she is so kind and generous with sharing her vast experience and knowledge, and also giving you your spark to explore what do you find fascinating, like a jumping off place. And she's incredibly supportive, and she's just such a treasure. When we did 3 different weeks in Austin, Texas with her, there was a group of 6 of us. So it was a talk about a deep dive and transformational and shifting everything point of view. She has this little skeleton. She calls him Elvis, and he's just always there. So one of the things that I did during our time is secretly I filmed Elvis with each one of the 6 of us while we taught him the concepts that she taught us. So we had him like jumping on the rebounder and finding his center and all these fun concepts that she taught us. So that's the kind of container that she created, that we could be our most strange and creative. One of the other things that I liked about the program is I'm not real great about writing things. And so we had these projects that we would do. And one of the ways that I decided to express the things that I was learning is I drew and I did art. about the concepts of biotensegrity and the way that I changed my perception of my body. And I thought that was pretty extraordinary that she accepted and understood that that was my way of expressing what I'd learned, whereas my some of my fellow mentees did these, intellectual writing. I just put it into my body, into drawing. So I like to uh, I like to surround myself with those intellectual people, but I tend to just want to move. And then earlier, where I started was as an actor when I was just a kid. So my mother says that I started to sing before I could speak. They called it French opera for some reason. I don't know why it was French. Neither one of them spoke French, but they called it French opera. And I would just sing and sing and sing. So I always wanted to be an actor, and I became an actor in school and then went to school to become a musical theater actor. And one of the things we learned to do was physiologically create tears and laughter. So that was just a skill that I learned that I used. So just by exhaling and letting it be vocalized. So, and what it's contagious, even if it's contagious to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So your body goes, "Oh, she's happy. Let's release some feel good chemicals."
Mm-hmm.
So that's, and I was a voiceover actor, so I was always using my voice, and I was a dancer. So what's interesting is many, many years later, I feel like all the things I learned as an actor, I'm applying. I learned to imagine myself in someone else's body, in their experience, and feel what it felt like to be in their body. So that's still kind of what I do with my students. I imagine what it must feel like to have whatever pattern or pain or, and then I'm very intuitive at this point in my career too. I just kind of, we're curious together and we explore with the Pilates method as the kind of roadmap,
Mm-hmm.
blueprint, and then we kind of riff and see where it takes us. And my specialty now is taking it into functional movement, especially walking. Nancy Myers is one of my mentors, who's a brilliant. She can tell you every tiny, tendon and bone in the foot, and so, and then that takes it to dancing, walking with rhythm and joy. So, laughing and dancing, sing and dance and laugh and play. I feel like there's so many things that we create for children, and then we're supposed to be serious when we grow up. But I still want to roll around on the floor and, do goofy stuff. And that, I think, when you have that balance between ease and joy and risk, so that it's actually a challenge, finding that edge for somebody where they're feeling like, "Ooh, I better pay attention. I'm using, my vestibular system, my visual system, my body, my breath." And there's a safe, I mean, so often in Pilates, we are holding on to something that we can lighten our touch and feel that balance between risk and safety. And then we can start to train our bodies to have that subtle, unconscious resetting, and to do it with singing, dancing, laughing, and playing. Why not? I mean, I think I also really embrace the principles of Pilates, the kind of, I love the detail and the precision. I love that too. So I kind of like, to go back and forth between the two. But one of the reasons I teach the way I do now is that I thought that if I just got stronger and more precise and did it better and more weights, and that I would start to feel better. But it wasn't true for me because I had some injuries from car accidents, and that's why I found Pilates. And what I recognized eventually is that I was using the tension patterns in my Pilates work. So I was actually strengthening the patterns that were hurting me. And when I let, and Wendy is the person that helped me discover that. And Mary Bowen, I did a workshop with Mary Bowen and Wendy LeBlanc Arbuckle. After my kids were born, my husband gave me a gift of going away to Texas and spending a weekend with them. And I had an incredibly transformative experience where I was showing off how strong I am. Wendy still calls me out for being performative because I like, as a performer, I want to do it right and look right. And so I was showing off how strong I was, and they helped me find release into gravity.
Mm-hmm.
just in a simple roll up. And it was completely different than anything I'd ever done before, dropping into gravity and allowing my spine to roll up. And it was seriously like a transformative moment where I feel like everything shifted or I could see a new world. So that's one of the reasons that I started to follow Wendy around because I
Well,
wanted more of that.
you brought up some, I think, very key elements in your thinking process and in your story. And Joseph Pilates said it was all about work, rest, and play.
Yeah.
And I truly feel that the play has definitely kind of been lost and not necessarily been shared or transmitted the same way as maybe it may have been intended to be. I mean, he inspired his whole method based on a cat and on children, according to Mary
Yeah.
Bowen.
Yeah.
And then you also brought up, like you said, that joy, that ease, that freedom of, yeah, of just not being that serious. And like you said, that frame, that structure gives a certain certainty. But when
Yeah.
we're too certain, we end up not really moving or taking any risks. And
Yeah.
finding the joy in taking those risks is a massive element. And I want to ask you, it's a simple question, and yet there is no such thing as simple questions. But I wonder, why do you feel so many fall out of love, specifically now in our times, with their own body? And why do even some of the most
Mm.
passionate Pilates teachers out there who are doing fairly well end up burning out, end up being stuck, and end up feeling like something is missing? Even though they've done all the workshops, they've done all the approaches, all the
Yeah.
styles, they can maybe do all the exercises, but there is a moment where that fulfillment, where the remarkable loses the soulful. And I
Yeah.
wonder, what is your turn on that? Because you were working mainly with clients. I mean, you are in the studio with clients. Like for me, I could not imagine not being with clients. I mean, this is where my heart is. And this is, I
Yeah.
think, these have been my greatest teachers, with, of course, all the mentors that are guiding us. But the teachers that really have given me those aha moments every time are my clients, because they challenge us every single day.
Yeah.
So, what's your turn on, why do you feel that people are falling out of love and Pilates teachers are starting to just feel out of passion as well?
That's a good question. And I definitely feel like there was a point where that could have happened for me. I owned a studio for 11 years, and that's being a business owner, that's a whole different challenge. Um, and there was a very business feeling to it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I think that it's it's difficult to monetize something that's a passion. I
Mm-hmm.
think for a lot of us, we are healers, we are givers, and we tend to not charge enough for our services and not be confident enough that the value of what we're teaching is immense. I mean, somebody might go to their doctor and get a foot insole thing for $500 or something, which to my mind is not going to do them much good at all. It's going to create problems. So spending that same $500 with a Pilates teacher who can help them to move better and not need something like an arch support. I think that's to recognize the value of what we do is one. And then the other thing for me, now when I teach, the hour flies by. And there was a point in my life when I was like, 10 more, what exercises am I going to do? You know, you're thinking it's the sixth hour of the day and it's kind of rote, you're teaching rote exercises. And now the way I teach is very much an exploration and being curious with my client. I usually have an idea. Sometimes I dream about them. I wake up in the morning and I have dreamed about teaching them. Sometimes it's a ridiculous exercise where they would be, flying or something. But then I kind of extrapolate what is actually possible. But they'll come in and say, "Oh, wow, I slept funny." And like the other day, my client came in and she said, "It's my shoulder. It might be connected to my neck." I've worked with her for years. The fact that she doesn't know that her shoulder is connected to her neck. But then we went into this whole exploration. We've been talking about posture and head position, and it just leads us to this whole. Every time I meet with these clients, some I've seen for years and years, I see her twice a week for many years, but every time it's like, ooh, here's the next piece. Remember when we did the scapular slide? Now can you feel, ooh, here's a nervous system exercise. Now let's put it on the Pilates apparatus.
Mhm.
And ooh, now feel how that's a little different. It's
Mhm.
so to me, it's like in such flow and it's so fun because it's not me telling them what to do 10 of these and count 2, 3. We're exploring together. I mean, I think that's definitely Wendy's influence too. That's the way she teaches it, such a fun co-creation experience. So I never look at the clock and think, when is this going to be over? When's lunch? And that's partly by doing, I've been teaching for 26 years. So I kind of figured out when I started to feel kind of, I have a tendency sometimes to, I'm German, so I understand that Germanic Joseph Pilates. I and I can get a little bit like 10 and 9 and point your toe and you know, and that didn't make me happy.
I get it. I get it. I mean, most of us, let's face it, most of us, when we start Pilates, we were trained to take the body very seriously.
Yeah,
We were taught that discipline and order
yeah,
and control was the
yeah.
key. We learned to count, to
Yes,
cue, to
yeah,
correct, and to
yes, yeah,
put
yeah,
in the right place. And at one point, that's where I'm like, okay, I mean, we are missing the point. First of all, people are coming not to be corrected or to be fixed, even though that's what they may say to you. But
yeah,
I mean, there is a person behind all of this. We're not just, I mean, I was taught, you are working with the body, the body.
yeah.
Okay, but what about
Right.
the soul that's in that body? What about the
Yeah,
person behind it? Aren't we maybe missing a piece? And I started to think, because I've done all the possible workshops you can think of, and I've worked with 10 different mentors. I've always been a hybrid. It always got me into trouble, by the way, as well, but that's how it was. But what if I thought movement was never meant to be all about controlling the body? And what if it was about more collaborating? And that is what Wendy brought into the picture,
yeah,
this partnership with oneself and with our body's wisdom. And
yeah,
when that started to shift, I understood that no advanced certification could get me there, but maybe the joy of appreciating my body more than expecting to be capable and facilitating capabilities was really not the actual key behind it. So,
yeah,
what I love about how you took it even a notch further is how you now integrate into your Pilates really the joy factor. Okay, there's teaching, there's exploration, you're opening up to all the possibilities, you're exploring with your clients. At the same time, you're giving them the possibility to also have the confidence to go into the unknown and to do
yeah.
it joyfully and with fun and not being worried about being right or wrong. Now, how did that come about? I mean, how did you shift into teaching Pilates with laughter and actually strengthening people's core with
Yeah.
deep, deep laughter?
Well, I went to a laughter yoga class because
Okay.
I thought, ooh, laughter yoga, I'm going to love this. But, I don't want to say anything against laughter yoga because I haven't explored it a lot. But the class that was taught in my city, it was a lot about telling jokes and it was fun, but it didn't have any, there was no yoga to it. There was no movement.
No, it was very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. And so I didn't feel like my laughter was real.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't become real because I was like thinking about what kind of a joke am I going to tell, and I felt awkward. Anyway, so I knew from my theater training that you can create that real contagious laughter
Yes.
physiologically. You don't have to tell a joke. I mean, I like a good joke, but so and then I started exploring movement with laughter, and what I really love in my Pilates with laughter classes is people who've never done Pilates before. And sometimes I would be teaching a class with people who had not done Pilates before. They didn't understand the concepts. They were just trying to make shapes with their body, and I could see that it didn't feel very comfortable. They didn't even understand. So people don't even know where their rib cage is sometimes. You just,
Mm-hmm.
touch your rib cage and like, ooh, my rib cage moves. It's really extraordinary if you're not like a body geek. People haven't thought about that kind of stuff, gliding your shoulder blades and stuff. So I wanted to get them to a place where they could goof around. I mean, rolling like a ball and, you know, rocking swan. If you turn it into playful movement like kids,
Mhm.
and the feedback I got was that people were like, wow, I thought we were just goofing around. And boy, do I feel my abs today. So it's just a kind of a way to help people not feel like they're doing something really serious and they could get it wrong. And because sometimes people, I was getting feedback that people would say, would meet me and say, oh, I tried Pilates, it hurt my back. I tried Pilates, it really hurt my neck. Like, well, it certainly shouldn't be hurting your neck, but it did me for even though I was doing it at an advanced level, I thought that I didn't think that I could be out of pain. I thought that I had soft tissue damage that would always hurt. That's what I was told by the doctor who like pushed my arm and said, "Nah, there's nothing I can do. It's soft tissue damage. You'll always be in pain." And I thought, okay, I'm getting stronger, but there's nothing I can do about this pain. And so I was just rolling and doing the exercises with this tension that was keeping me in pain. And I had this sense that I had to do it right. And if you mess it up and roll around, you can let go of the tension. And then the secret is, boom, the deep core wakes up, but not until you let go of that tension, that exterior tension. And
And
that's
all the
really hard to
push.
teach.
And all the
What's
push.
that?
We don't realize how much push we use as well. And Eve Gentry said
Right.
it herself. One day the push was gone. And you had to find other ways to kind of pull yourself together and be held instead of holding. It's a very different, like you
Yeah.
said, with gravity, when you partner with gravity, when you partner with
Right.
space, when you partner with oppositional forces, the inner and the
Yeah.
outer forces that move us. It takes a whole, I mean, movement takes a whole different
Right.
language and a whole different feeling in that
Yeah.
moment.
And
Now, when we go
biotensegrity, which is what the phrase
teachers,
Wendy
now,
teaches.
if we go back to your laughter, because you are working the core literally through laughter. Okay, so we're going to do a sample. We're going to play with this. So, what is actually happening in the body during this uncontrollable laughter that makes it such a great deep abdominal? I mean, we all had these moments where we laughed so hard
Right.
that we had cramps. I mean, we may even have peed ourselves as our pelvic floor did not keep up with us. Worst comes to worst. But what is actually happening? Like what because there
Well,
is a scientific thing behind it.
yeah, the what I teach people to do is put one hand right underneath the rib cage and one hand on their belly, and then just go make a exhalation. You can feel the hand come in toward the spine, and both hands come in, and then you just vocalize it. And that's the phrenic nerve, which talks to the vagal nerve, which goes throughout the whole nervous system. So already you're signaling to the nervous system, oh, we're relaxing, we're making sound, we're breathing out completely, which is to get us into a regulated, relaxed state. And then you've got your pelvic floor and your diaphragm go up, and your rib cage slides down. So boom, your core is on. So you don't have to pull your belly in and up, which a lot of times makes people flare their rib cage out and tuck their tail. So it just kind of it's that container of the core just kind of comes in around the spine to stabilize you, especially if you're rolling like a ball or doing side planks. I love it, especially with extension, just a little tiny swan. And so often people will push their belly into the earth to get that movement. It's hard to teach them to draw up, but if you're laughing, you can't help it. So you feel your shoulders slide down naturally, you feel your belly pull in, and you feel your spine responding to the laughter naturally. So it's partly physiological with the pelvic floor and the diaphragm going up to expel the air as the lungs deflate and the rib cage comes down. And then when you get that deflation, then you get really great intake of air, natural intake. You don't have to teach people where to breathe because it's lungs. The lungs open and close. And oh, I had a thought that I just lost. Oh, and then the other piece is the nervous system. It makes you relax
Mhm.
and don't you're not in your thinking mind, you're in your playful body.
And how do people feel after the class? Do they feel, what is the feedback they'll get? They say they feel stronger, or what is the kind of transformation that you see kind of instantly afterwards?
Well, I taught it at a Pilates on tour for Balanced Body, and I remember Victoria Popov, who then invited me to teach to her whole studio. She said she felt like she was on mushrooms. So it gives you an altered state. It's I feel elated.
Wow.
Even sometimes one of the things that I used to do when I had two little kids who were like in the back seat of the car fighting with each other, we would do we would grade each other on laughter. So we each took turns doing some kind of weird laugh, and then we would give them a 10 or an 8 or whatever. So that was a way for me to get the kids laughing, myself laughing, calm us all down. And so now still like sometimes underneath my breath I just and right away you feel your face smiles. You can feel your body relaxing, and it to me it feels like elation. It
Mhm.
feels like when you get a lot of breath and you get some movement, it's like a really a shortcut to when you feel your best, when you feel connected with the people around you. Even when I do it on Zoom, I feel very connected. Even when nobody's on the other side of the camera, I know I'm doing it for the people who will be watching it, and I feel that connection to somebody else.
Mhm.
And that co-regulation, I think that's a big piece of it. I mean, we were designed to laugh together, to be in community together, and there's not enough of it in our lives. We're all just like heads down trying to,
No, like
and
you
then got to
said.
get to exercise class.
Yeah, and but like you said, those neurochemicals, I mean, in the body, they're being released, and
Yeah,
they regulate your emotion, they regulate
yeah.
your mood, and the body just responds easily to that. I mean, the
Dopamine,
dopamine,
oxytocin. Yeah,
oxytocin,
yeah,
endorphins, all
yeah,
these, I mean, basically they're just naturally being released after
yeah,
having a good time and having fun and
exactly.
definitely laughter after
To
10 minutes,
trick your
you got it.
body.
I mean, like,
Even when you're really sad or upset, just
yeah.
a little bit of laughter, it happens. It just you breathe a little bit more easily. You're able to relax tension, and it kind of feels like to me like you're able to see something else. You're able to shift and see the world around you. That's another thing that Wendy does is expand your visual system to recognize more of your lived experience. So just
What is
expanding.
well, let's talk about expanding because I love the transition. You have taken the courage, or you've been brave enough, or maybe intuitive enough, whatever you want to call it, to go your own way and to, like you said, expand. So what would you say to a teacher or a client or someone out there who's been craving to have more freedom of
Yeah.
expression in their teaching or in their body, how they move or how they feel about their body, and that are kind of scared to stand out or scared to not do status quo, scared to do differently than what they're being told, and that actually being less serious is actually being more efficient. I know it's probably not in our mindset, we don't believe that,
Yeah.
but fundamentally, when we go a little bit more childish about things, we actually retain better information. We actually
Right.
remember things better in the brain because
Through play.
it happens in the part of our brain where we can retain information better than if we're serious and we're all,
Yeah.
shut off. What's your turn on that? What would you say to a teacher or to someone who is maybe a little bit on the fence to just wants to do everything right because they've been
Yeah.
told to do so?
Well, I think finding your community, finding support for one, but also noticing when you look at often the classes at a Pilates studio that are full,
Hmm.
it's often the funny one. The teacher who cracks jokes. People love to go there and see their friends, and everybody's laughing as they come in, even if they get down to work and they're real serious. But there is a place for, I can think of a lot of Pilates teachers that I really admire who have a lightness, have a sense of humor about things. So I would say to look to those teachers and see that there are some teachers who are lighthearted, who are also serious,
Hmm.
and who are doing very well. I mean, I think finding community, finding a mentor, to me that was important, and also finding out what is it that what are the things that you love in the rest of your life. For me, that was a piece of it too, bringing everything that I am to my work, all the different parts, all the things that I'm interested in. And yeah, getting a community that will support you and lift you up. And I think it's, I mean, it's a practice because I've been doing this a long time, but I still feel insecure and tentative and, so that's just part of the reality.
Of course.
Got to keep trudging on.
Of course. We're just humans.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it as well.
Yeah.
Well, let us talk about something because Joe kind of taps into that. Joseph said that the method was all about helping people become the architects of their own happiness. Okay,
Right.
so what does happiness mean to you? Because that's a tricky one. What is happiness to you? And how does this apply to you bringing laughter into your Pilates classes so that the
Yeah.
hormones are being triggered, that they are in another state, that they are more joyful, that they are more loving with themselves, they're taking things less serious. I mean, all the benefits to that. So, what is happiness to you, and how does that come into the scope of what Joe wanted to achieve? Is to help people be happier with his exercises.
My favorite quote of Joseph Pilates is physical fitness is the first requisite of happiness. And then I don't remember the middle, but the end is spontaneous zest and pleasure. So doing all of your many and varied daily tasks with spontaneous zest and pleasure. So to me, it's physical fitness, especially as we age, might mean being able to garden,
Mm-hmm.
being able to when my clients come in, we talk about very specific things that they are having trouble doing. One client couldn't put his cat's bowl down on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of went backwards into all of the hinges and things that have to happen to comfortably put your cat's food on the ground. So getting up and down off the ground as we age, all the way to I love working with athletes. I love working with equestrians or golfers who have a very specific goal and a little bit more high level physical fitness. But to me, the little ingredients of life and thinking about spontaneous zest and pleasure so that when you get up from the couch where you were watching TV, you don't have to groan and hold your back and so it's, those little functional moments in your life. And the other weird thing that I do is dance in my kitchen. That's just a more rhythmic, fun way to do stuff that starts feeling kind of cranky and stiff as you get older. Your feet and ankles and knees and hips. So it's just a way to take all the movements we do in the Pilates studio and make, little micro moments as you're cooking dinner and doing the laundry.
Well, Pilates becomes part of your life. It's not just a
Right.
workout or just a set of exercises. You're actually
Exactly.
implementing it in your daily
Yeah.
activities. And
Yeah.
it becomes, I remember Lolita San Miguel was asked in a workshop, is Pilates a form of exercise or is it lifestyle? And she said, well, it's both. Depends what you
Yeah.
want to do with it. You can just, work out, or Pilates is 24/7, even when you sleep, she said. I was like, okay, if you say so. So yeah, it's quite impressive to see how when, and I mean I see it when you do the dance in the kitchen, because I see it on Facebook when you do it and you connect live. Like you said, all the motions, all the movements are things we do in every single exercise in the repertoire.
Right.
Nothing, and it's nothing new in the end. And we go through the whole development of us actually going vertical from being in
Right.
mama's belly all the way back to vertical. It's just
Yeah.
naturally in all the dancing, all the circulation, all the ups and
Yeah.
downs and out and in. It just happens quite naturally. And it
Yeah.
goes back to being joyful again.
And also recognizing the piece that might be problematic for you. For me, from the car accidents, my neck. So recognizing the tendency for me to hang my head forward and have my shoulders up on my ears. So this gives me a chance to, really focus on that. And when I first started, my neck was so, for 15 years I was in chronic pain. And now, happily, I can swing my head around and flip my hair around, which was kind of a goal of mine for some reason.
Hmm.
I like to go dancing and flip my hair around. And I don't have pain anymore because I'm connected into my body and that's supporting my neck in all the different kinds of movements. I mean, Joseph Pilates had crazy neck exercises, doing reformer work with just your head. So it can really go to that extreme for people who were athletes and gymnasts who were doing things with their neck that needed that kind of strength. So whether you take it all the way there or just recognizing where your tension pattern is, and then as you release it, then your natural strength has an opportunity to support you with more ease. So,
So I would love for you to give us a taste of the laughter. I just a little quote. I remember when I went to Mary as well for mentorship, and I spent 2 days on yawning. I mean, and when I came back from Mary's workshop from 2 days of mentoring with her in her at her home, my
oh,
husband's like, "So what
lovely.
did you learn?" And it's like, "I learned to yawn." He's like, "Oh, come on, what did you do?" And I'm like, "I yawned." It's like, seriously? You went all the way over there? You flew to the United States, you spent 2 days with her, you traveled 2 days back and forth, you went on the plane and you yawned? And I'm like, I did. And I said to him, you have no idea how difficult it was to get that first yawn out of me
Yeah.
because I was so tight. I
Hmm.
was so insecure inside to release. I didn't feel safe to let go.
Yeah.
And to then just be there and yawn and yawn and yawn on command. I mean, it took 2 days. And
Yeah.
literally, I mean, my first mentorship with her was yawning. And then the
Yeah.
second one was also very particular, but that one, I mean, I will, I cannot
Yeah.
not forget it. And
And
it's,
yawning is transformational, like laughing and dance through life, laugh and dance through life.
and doesn't matter how you dance. Doesn't matter
Oh,
how
no,
you,
no. Oh, that's one of my pet peeves when people say, "Oh, I don't dance." That's crazy. Everybody can dance. Everybody can sing. Everybody can laugh. Yeah, bad dancing, for heaven's sakes. Bad dancing is just as good as good dancing. When I was in high school, I used to crack my friends up by doing bad dancing. I would do like very serious ballet and just make people laugh by being goofy. So yeah, do bad dancing on purpose. It's all, it doesn't have to look good. Don't put yourself on camera if you don't want to. But I'm
that's the
happy to.
thing. But that's the thing with Pilates as well. You're not supposed to look like the book. I mean, you're not supposed to look like a
No,
figurine either. As long as you
no.
feel it in the right place that supports you and that does it
Right.
for you, doesn't
Yeah.
matter what the teaser looks like and doesn't matter
Yeah.
whatever.
Forcing something to be straight-legged if it's better, if if that's what you're working on most, you're missing out on a lot of the quality. Yeah, so I would say pick one little thing like letting your shoulders drip down your back or doing, exhaling fully, letting your rib cage drop, maybe a little internal laugh just to kind of reset things and a little dance, a little laugh.
If there was anything you would want to give, let's say there is this very young teacher or there is this person in front of you who is going through a very tough time with their body and they're
Mm,
questioning a lot of things. What is the one thing you would give them as wise guiding words that would maybe help them along the way? Sometimes we meet people and we don't realize right away what they said, and then years
mm,
later you're like, "Oh, I remember that.
yeah.
Now it makes sense."
I think to recognize that most of us, or a great percentage of us as Pilates teachers, people who are working with the body, came to Pilates because there was a problem, because they were injured, because they were hypermobile and they didn't know how to manage it, and somebody helped them, and that's when they were like, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to pass this on." So even people who've been doing Pilates for a very long time and who seem to be perfect, sometimes they come and see me, and my specialty is finding that one little thing that's caught. And sometimes, surprisingly, they'll tell me, "Yeah, I'm in pain every day." So that's not what you're going to see when they're doing stuff on Instagram, or they might not talk about that, but that's what we're all dealing with that at some level. So that's just a part of being human too. And let that be a fuel for helping others. And let it be actually one of the things that I really love is the research shows that even if you're just imagining the work, it can help your cells and your muscles. So when I'm working with my clients, whatever they're going through, I'm even though I'm not doing the exercise with them, I'm thinking about it with them. And I feel like my body feels better than ever because I spend a lot of my time thinking about my shoulder blades. And, so I'm not doing the exercise, but I'm kind of helping them feel it and see it. So, I mean, we're all in this together. Even the people that you see who you think look perfect, if you got into a conversation with them, they would go, "Oh no, I'm in terrible pain," or everybody has a challenge, and let that your specific challenge can fuel your passion to help other people. If you didn't have any problems ever, I don't think you'd be a really great teacher, to be honest. You wouldn't have the understanding and the empathy. So we're all in this together.
And I mean, that's how all the teachers basically became teachers with Joe. I mean, they never went there to become teachers, they were clients.
Absolutely,
Eventually, they
exactly,
just helped someone
exactly.
that needed help, and it just
Right.
kind of passed on
Yeah,
from
we
there.
we pass it on. Yeah,
We pass it on. Yeah, therefore, passing on the torch, Wendy's
yeah.
program. Well, we are meeting Wendy next week. So
I'm
we
so
all, the three of
excited.
us will be there, and we will talk about where the world is going and how we potentially can reposition ourselves, not just as Pilates teachers, but as definitely maybe also pathfinders
Yeah,
or torch holders or
yeah,
being a, being on a journey, like you said, where we're all in this together,
yeah,
and that we're there for one another. We don't have to do this on our own unless we want to.
yeah. It's more important than ever that
I
people get
believe
in their bodies. We got to get in our bodies.
totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us tonight?
I mean, this was such a great conversation. Thank you. You asked great questions. I feel like I got to talk about a lot of my stuff, my favorite stuff.
And well, important. How can people get to know more about your work? How can we find you? How do you have any courses, anything that we can, we can promote at the same time
Yeah, I'd
with
love
you
to
as
share
well,
that.
because you
My
sent it to
website
me as well.
my website is pilateshomepractice.com. And I do have a course. It's called Kitchen Dancer, and it's an 8-week course where we go through the body and kind of explore the building blocks, the feet. How do you stand into your feet? How does that affect your knees and your pelvis? And it's kind of fun, joyful movement. There's a week on mood lifting, like laughter, and then there's a little bit of nervous system stuff too, so that once you've stacked up the physical body, you're also addressing breath and how that affects your mood, and then how you can fine tune things in your nervous system to support the whole structure. And then there's also that's pre-recorded now. I've been doing it for years. I finally got it pre-recorded so you can watch it whenever you like. And then there's weekly gatherings where we dance together and we do Q&As, and there's a growing library of explorations based on somebody's question about when I do this, it hurts my knee. How can I think about that or explore different ways? And so it's a growing community. It's all the things that I wish that I had gotten earlier to be able to take the work into my daily life and just notice we don't notice how we sit into one hip or always put our hands on our shoulders, on our hips, and that our head's a little bit off. And those tiny, subtle things, which can be pretty impactful. And if you just recognize that based on old injuries, sometimes physiological, sometimes emotional stuff we still hold in our body, how can you like shake it loose? And so I've got a whole method of exploration and making tiny shifts and how to remember it day to day. So you get each week you pick one small shift to do 3 times a day. And then we kind of build on that so that you have like 8 tiny shifts that start to become one moment of awareness
Mhm.
hooked into a bite-sized Pilates exercise integrated into your life.
Well, you're stacking
You're
every week,
stacking, yeah.
stacking, and you're
And
building
you can go
very
from the
strong.
top down or bottom up, center up and down. You could do it any way you want, but we do start with the feet because that makes such an impact where you stand in your feet. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So
Well, we'll make
that's
sure
my
that
program.
people get the information as well. I thank you for your time,
Thank you.
and
Thanks
I
for
thank
getting
you
me up
for
to up to speed with my podcasting
Wonderful.
technical.
And thank you everybody for listening as well, for being there with us and for making the most of just being curious and being open to explore and try, I wouldn't say new things. It's actually returning back. It's
Right.
actually returning back to what has actually helped us grow
Yeah,
all along without even us realizing when we were
that's
children.
true.
And I think
That's
to
true.
go back to, he called it return to life. Why don't we
Yeah.
return to joy
Yeah.
again and to happiness? Because it's something, I truly believe happiness is something, it's a choice. It's something inside of us that we have
And a
access
practice.
to.
Yeah. It
And
takes some work to choose
it
it.
exactly. And that it is not an outcome, it's not a result. It really is
Right.
a decision to be
Yeah,
joyful, because
I
joyful is a
agree.
state, and joyful is something that you can have access to whenever you want. Change your physiology, change
Yeah.
your focus, change your language, the
Yeah.
sound, the laughter.
Yes.
And it's impossible to, I mean, it's impossible to be sad while you laugh, even when you fake it.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is just, yeah, everything is just shifting. Like you said, that little shift. But really, I mean, what I've felt and what I've experienced now, just with you and just seeing you on social media. Everybody follow Kristen on social media. It's just, it just brings you joy. It's just
Yeah. That's
wonderful.
Pilates home practice on Instagram too.
There you go. You have to
Thank you
follow.
so much for
Thank you.
inviting me to
And
talk with you.
well, we see each other next week
A
again.
pleasure. I'm excited.
We have another conversation with Wendy, and we'll take this further.
Thank you.
Thank you. So here we are. I hope you enjoyed this. Huge thanks to Kirsten for not only sharing her voice, but for reminding us all that we can be deep and light at the same time. Pilates was created to help people feel better in their bodies. And if we lose the joy, we lose a piece of what Joseph and Clara had intended. So here's your homework. Sometimes this week, find ways to laugh with your students, with yourself. Let your abs shake, your face light up, and your nervous system reset. And if you have loved today's episode, share with someone who maybe needs a good laugh or a good reminder that they can be themselves. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep moving, keep smiling, and keep choosing joy.